And so husbands, in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way as with a weaker vessel, with a weaker partner, not less valuable, but more fragile, even more valuable in the sense that we take special restraints to make sure they're protected. And so he tells us, live with your wives in an understanding way. And then he says this, that could be misunderstood as derogatory towards women, but it's not. He says, live with your wives in an understanding way as with a weaker partner. And you may say, oh, he's saying we're less than, we're not as valuable. No, that's not what he's saying at all. He's actually just stating the obvious. In general, men are stronger than women. That's not a point of pride. That's not a point of other than physiology of what's practical, that men are practically most of the time stronger than women. That's part of what's led to so much abuse and so many things that have happened where men have taken advantage of women in so many different ways over the years. But he says, you as a man, live with your wife as with a weaker partner, that she's not as strong as you. She's typically less in physical strength, sometimes emotionally, because sometimes men can deal with stress and compartmentalize stress. Not every man, but in general terms. But that doesn't make a woman less valuable or make her less worthy. It actually means she's more valuable and needs to be treated more carefully. I've got to be more gentle with my wife than I would with any other man, because I can be to the point with a man, with my friends, with my brothers in Christ, man, we talk straight to one another, and I still can with my wife, but I've got to treat her, and not to make her like an object, but many of us don't have this anymore. When I was growing up, you had a china cabinet in your dining room, and you had all the best fine china and beautiful, maybe some vases sitting on it. Those are special. If you were a kid, man, you didn't get near that. Why? Because it was valuable and it was fragile. And so we need to live with our wives in an understanding way as with a weaker vessel, that she's beautiful, she's valuable, but she's also a little more fragile in some ways. Not less intellect, not less in her worth before God. She's just as saved as you are. She has just the same value in the kingdom of heaven as you are, but she's made differently, and God made the wife differently intentionally. And so us as husbands, we need to be, here's a word that we confuse, and it's that word meek. Meek is not weak, okay? Meek is this word strength under control. And so I need to be meek with my wife. I've not always been that way. There's been times in my life I've been convicted, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I need to be meek with my wife, that the strength that God has given me, whether emotionally or physically or whatever, that I use that to protect and guard her heart. I think there's one thing I can say after 30 years of marriage with my wife. Wow, she's been mad at me before. There's been times we've disagreed, and there's been a few times I wasn't right, believe it or not. I'm glad y'all laughed. Here's the point. My wife in 30 years of marriage has never worried about me hurting her in a physical way. That's never been a worry for her. She knows I've been mad. She knows I'm stronger than her. She can outrun me in a race, so I can't keep up with her, so we even out. But she's never had to worry that physically I would ever harm her. And so she knows she could be safe with me. Even if I'm mad at her, even if we're not getting along, I'm still going to protect her. I'm still going to guard her. And so husbands, in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way as with a weaker vessel, with a weaker partner, not less valuable, but more fragile, even more valuable in the sense that we take special restraints to make sure they're protected. And then it says this, showing them, that's the wife, honor. Going back to that vessel, it's like that fine china in that cabinet. You put that fine china there. You don't use that china every day because you don't want to take a chance on it getting broken. It's so special. And so with a wife, she's like this special vessel, not like an object, but a vessel for God that we take great care of, that we hold in great regards. We show them honor as, listen to this, co-heirs. You know what a co-heir is? One's not higher than the other. First off, Rhonda is just as saved as I am. I stand before you most weeks and proclaim the gospel. And I have the role of a pastor, of a shepherd, and I'm so thankful for that. But let me promise you this. When Rhonda and I step through the gates of heaven, she's just as saved and just as honored in heaven as I am. My role was just different.